what about the other answers, the other questions you've asked? So we will take a look at that. The second, in response to that possibility, we've asked another question. This time the question is, did the CalPERS invested in Chinese companies blacklisted by the United States government? So first of all, we made a very clear and a very detailed question. And second of all, we make it very unbiased and it's very factually centered. So first of all, before I continue, this is being mentioned is because we are going to compare that to the same questions asked in Chinese and the answer that it gives in Chinese. That will be a later one, but let's focus on this one. The answer it gives us, its response is, by the date, its knowledge cutoff date of 2021, September 2021, of course, it says that it admits that the CalPERS had invested in Chinese companies that, to be more exact, the CCP entities that were blacklisted by the United States government due to concerns over the ties to the CCP regime, military, or involvement in human rights abuses. This red circle here, because it's too long, I didn't read, so I summarized that for you. It says the answer actually mentioned the reason why those CCP entities were blacklisted, such as human rights abuses and affiliation to the CCP's armed forces. Now, let's keep that in mind, because we are going to looking next into another important detail before looking into that Chinese version answer of the same question we asked. So we have to look, before looking into that, we also have to look into the big question, who runs the CalPERS? CalPERS is actually an institution affiliated to California Government Operations Agency. Now, we took screenshots of the browsers from the Government Operations Agency of California, and we find out proofs of affiliation because the CalPERS website entrance is demonstrated and illustrated on the Government Operations Agency's website, which belongs to the California state government. Remember, California Government Operations Agency is a state government agency that belongs to the California state government, and CalPERS is a subsidiary of the California Government Operations Agency. Several other laws, including the California constitutions and several other rules and regulations concerning the government department's operations, applies to the CalPERS. Now, keep this in mind, because what we are showing you right now, the simplified Chinese version answer from ChatGPT, it not only just misled the reason why the CCP entities are blacklisted, it also contains a very serious conflict to the factual information we've just seen. Too long didn't read, and it's a foreign language, so I actually helped written that out for you. There are two red circles. The first red circle, we've explained that to you. It in Chinese, it's translated as those companies are being blacklisted simply because they have violated the US export and sanctions. Listen again. The answer says those companies are blacklisted simply because they have violated the exports and sanctions. But in the English version, you already saw these entities are being blacklisted because of human rights abuses and their ties to the CCP's armed forces. So it did not state the most important reason why those CCP's entities were blacklisted by the US federal government, such as human rights abuses and the affiliation to the CCP armed forces. But what it did here was shifting focus to the export and sanctions violations. In addition, the second red circle says, it says CalPERS was independent and non-governmental, but But excuse me, CalPERS is managed by California government operation agencies, and that California government operations agencies in turn is a part of the California state government. How come that is not a governmental agency? How come that's become independent? And it is so obvious here. Why does the Chinese simplified Chinese version answer make this kind of mistake? Or make this kind of statement that is so far away from the facts that is too hard to be characterized as a mistake? Could it become like this without any kind of human intervention? At least it's hard to convince us because it's too far off from the facts we've just seen. And before I continue, I have to mention that by failing to mention the human rights abuses and the affiliation to the CCP's armed forces, but shifting the focus to the export and sanctions violations, the CCP, or at least the CCP regime that is behind this, or the beneficiaries of this kind of narrative, is trying to enhance the anti-American sentiment. So this is just not the end of it, because the